On a previous episode of 5-Minute Leadership, we looked at the 18th century's most influential spiritual leaders, John Wesley and George Whitefield. I want to now jump to the 20th century's two greatest female healing evangelists, Kathryn Kuhlman and Aimee Semple McPherson. Kathryn Kuhlman conducted healing crusades globally for 43 years. From 1940 to 1970, she was one of the most well-known ministers all over the world. Over 2 million people self-reported being healed in her meetings. Kathryn Kuhlman died in 1976. Her evangelistic foundation died a few years later. Aimee Semple McPherson also had a tremendous healing ministry. She pastored one of the largest megachurches of its day, the Angelus Temple in LA. It's now the Dream Center in Los Angeles. Her Sunday evening service was one of the most difficult tickets to get in LA, which was the entertainment capital of the world. In the 1920s, her name was on the front pages of America's newspapers an average of 3 times a week. Her funeral in 1944 drew over 50,000 people. She also had failed marriages, shameless self-promotion, financial improprieties haunted her ministry. Despite the scandals, the institution she founded outlived her. The institution? The International Church of the Foursquare Gospel. In 2016, Foursquare reported over 2.5 million salvations around the world. They currently have over 88,000 licensed ministers serving 9 million Foursquare church members in 70,000 churches in 144 nations. The difference: Kathryn Kuhlman created moments. Aimee Semple McPherson built a movement. And listen, I am sure the Kathryn Kuhlman moments were absolutely amazing, seeing people's lives changed, miracle healings. Aimee Semple McPherson had those moments, but also leveraged those moments to build a movement that outlasted and outlived her. I want to mention one more leader from church history who not only had moments, but built a movement and left behind organizations and institutions that outlived him and continue to do gospel work even though the founder and the leader has passed away. Billy Graham. On his tombstone, it simply has his name, his birth date, his death date, and this phrase, quote, "Preacher of the gospel of the Lord Jesus Christ." And then it has a reference to John 14:6. He was the very first staff member in 1944 of Young Life, and that continues to bring the gospel to young people. Besides Young Life, there are 5 institutions founded or co-founded by Billy Graham. What might these institutions do in the next 10, 50, 100 years? 1950, the Billy Graham Evangelistic Association was founded. Since then, they have done over 400 mass crusades in 185 nations with over 200 million people attending and hearing the gospel. In 1951, Billy Graham founded Worldwide Pictures. They've produced over 125 evangelistic films. In 1956, Billy Graham was a co-founder of Christianity Today magazine that continues to reach over 2.5 million in monthly in their print and online editions. In 1969, Billy Graham was the co-founder of Gordon Conwell Theological Seminary. They have over 10,000 graduates ministering all over the world. In 1979, Billy Graham was the co-founder of the ECFA, the Evangelical Council for Financial Accountability. That accredits over 2,100 ministries that have together over $25 billion in revenue. After 3 years of my Doctor of Ministry research, here's what I've discovered. And I want to warn you, it's ridiculously simple. In order to build a ministry that outlives its founders, in order to leverage the moments into movements that outlive us, there are 3 essentials. Number 1, we must prepare next generation leaders to lead the organization. Number 2, we must prepare the organization to be led by next generation leaders. And number 3, we must prepare current leaders for the next phase of life where they're not leading day to day, but still living fruitful, productive lives that honor God.